Jack is a great guy. He's written a fantastic book. Everybody's talking about it. Go get it. And he's been my friend right from the beginning of this whole beautiful event. And we're going to turn it around and make our country great again. Amen.
All right, Jack Posobiec, we're back here, Human Events Daily, Real America's Voice. We're talking to Stephen Gardner, the host of the Stephen Gardner Show. He went back to Utah Valley University, the scene of the crime, and we're walking through the evidence, in some cases corroborating the evidence that we've heard regarding the theory and even alternate theories about Charlie Kirk's murder. Stephen Gardner went back to the scene multiple times to track it all down. And so talked about the gun, talked about the bullet, talked about the palm print and handprints that were found on that roof of the LoCi building, which are consistent actually in the same spot with the video that were shown, this grainy video that were shown of an individual jumping off. Stephen, where we left off before the break, you were telling us, though, about the cell phone tracking, that forensic cell phone tracking, geofencing data. We know the same exact method of tracking individuals was used in January 6th. They were tracking, did someone go onto the steps? Did they go in? Were they on the lawn? Where were they exactly? And we know that investigators using cell phone data can do this. What did you find regarding that data in this case?
So we're going to know with great clarity whether Tyler Robinson was in the Orem area, whether the text messages that many of us have questions about, whether those were sent from Orem to Lance Twigg. Was Lance Twigg in southern Utah, or was he also in Orem? All of that is going to come out. But the main thing is people are saying, okay, how would he have known, based on this weird terrain, not being a student at this school, how would he have known this? Because I don't believe you could have planned this murder from Google Maps. So they're going to know, based on his cell phone pathway, whether he went on the day before, a couple of weeks before. They'll be able to track all of that. Now, I was told from a forensic expert, Joseph Scott, that they're going to be able to track him from 800th Street down through the tunnel, up around the LoCi building, up the stairs, onto the roof, from the roof out to the roof line, take the shot, jump off the LoCi building, run into the woods. And then I started seeing all of these conspiracy videos that they were able to find him on a little cafe's security system. You can barely see his car, but you can see it. And you had all these conspiracy people saying, how does a guy kill Charlie Kirk and 20 minutes later he's in his car in a parking lot? That's not consistent with what a murderer would do. Well, you don't know how a murderer thinks, right? He might be sitting in that car amped up on adrenaline. But how did the cafe owner know that he was caught on his security camera? Because unless somebody breaks in, you don't just go review, 24 hours worth of video footage. It's because the FBI tracked him to that location. The next morning, 7:15 a.m., Cedar City Maverick gas station. How do they know it's him? He swipes a credit card and they follow his phone. They know when he goes home. They know if he goes to visit Lance, when he goes over to his parents. They've got all of it, the phone calls, the texting, everything. So this forensic expert, Joseph Scott Morgan, he shared with me that next to the gun, the cell phone data is going to be the thing that ties Tyler Robinson directly to the person on that building. And right now, there's a lot of doubt. Oh, I don't know if I can trust the FBI. Well, that geo-tracking, that geofencing, it's going to tell us where his phone was at all times on that day.
Now, there's another piece of this that you mentioned when you were there, and it had to do with the sort of the depth and the scope of the area, the amphitheater, where the building is. You were saying that you mentioned Google Maps a second ago, and that's what made me think of this. You said that where Charlie was sitting was actually much deeper than you realized, and the relative height from where Charlie was to the top of the LoCi building was a bit higher. Walk us through what you discovered.
So the video footage that you guys showed with me and Gary from Paramount Tactical, below us is the Hall of Flags. That's where the first cell phone picked up Tyler Robinson running off the roof. Then below that is where Charlie Kirk was sitting in a pop-up tent, right? So that
Right.
is an amphitheater that goes up, and then the LoCi building where he shoots from is 3 stories higher than that. So he's actually about 4 stories different, maybe 4.5 stories different. And so that bullet is coming down at an angle. He's also off to the side about 10 degrees. So that bullet is coming in from high to low and from the side, where it ends up crashing into his neck. So yes, right here you can see Gary. Right below us is the Hall of Flags, where somebody's cell phone catches Tyler Robinson running off the roof. But until you go to the actual campus, you don't really understand, because this particular campus, from an aerial point of view on Google Maps, they have these like red square sidewalks, and they all seem like they're on the same level, but some of them might be 2 stories up, some of them might be 2 stories down. And so that really threw me. The first time I went out, I was like, okay, wait a minute. I've been covering this story. I didn't really understand the elevation climb. I didn't understand the topography of the campus. And so, sadly, right where he takes the shot is the very best place to take a shot. You're up and away. You've got a clear line of sight to Charlie Kirk. You've got coverage by the cafeteria building in front of it. And he takes the shot and then runs for his life. But that really threw me. The other thing, when you start looking at the sound analysis, he's shooting down into a bowl. That's why you're picking up echoes. So some people that aren't as sophisticated in their forensic, they say, oh, there was probably 2 shots. Well, no, it's coming down into this amphitheater bowl. It's picking up an echo. It's also passing through the microphone system there. So when you really clean up all of the audio, it's 1 shot, then the supersonic boom, and then boom, it hits. And they were able to show all of that.
So those rings are coming from the initial sound wave, the sound propagation, but then you also have the secondary and tertiary waves that are hitting off of those other buildings into the bowl of the amphitheater. And you can even see it on this video that you put together from that angle. It's a very small, very confined space. In fact, I remember going to, when I did my Butler investigation, and visited, and I've been to Butler multiple times now, and looked at the site where President Trump had his assassination attempt. You realize it's so much smaller than it just looks on camera. It's so much smaller. I mean, you could run the distance in just a couple of seconds. It's a quick sprint, would get you from one side to another. And there's sometimes just videos in Google Map and satellites, and I know there are a lot of investigators and researchers go off of that, but when you physically go there for yourself, you see how those angles can play tricks on you, and it's much smaller. By the way, I just wanted to throw out before we run out of time here that what you mentioned about the cell phone tracking data, that reminds me a lot of the Brian Kohberger case, where and he killed those sorority girls. But that was a key piece of the evidence, because they find his fingerprint on the knife sheath, and then what do they have? They have his cell phone data going back and forth past that house, casing it before he went in, getting the pattern of life. Stephen, we are just about out of time. Thank you so much for doing this. I hope you continue. Tell everyone where to go to get your video and access to everything you're putting out.
If you look up Stephen Gardner on YouTube, you will see this face, and I appreciate the opportunity to come on.
Stephen Gardner on YouTube. Yes, you will see that face. And if you can stand it, if you can stand watching it, you will be able to get some really incredible information. God bless you, man, for doing this. And I appreciate it a lot, as I know there's been so many questions about this and everything else. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, you have my permission to lay ashore.